All right, Chelsea fans, welcome back to another episode. That's right, of the London's Blue podcast. Hopefully, your favorite Chelsea podcast out there, and a part of the Men in Blazers Media Network. Dan, one of your hosts here, alongside Brandon and Nick. That's right, the original trio back together to get you locked in for Chelsea's 2025-26 season. Look, Chelsea took a mean 35 days off between winning the Club World Cup, becoming the best team in the entire land, in the entire world, in the entire solar system, because we know in the other planets they're not playing this game of football. So Chelsea taking it in 2 weeks' time from time of recording. It's August 3rd right now when we're recording this. It will be the 17th when Chelsea kick off against Crystal Palace to start that 25-26 campaign in the Premier League and across all competitions. And Nick, this is our annual season preview episode. We talk about where we think Chelsea's going to finish in the league. We talk about how they'll do with trophies. We have a couple of our fun little anecdotal ones that we have, like Master of the Dark Arts. It's meant to be an episode to get you excited for what I think, and we'll get into this in the episode, could be a pretty good season for Chelsea Football Club.
Yeah, it's our annual hype episode where we make only the most important and accurate predictions in the entire world. You think about, Dan, the calendar that we just went through, the longest season ever in Chelsea's history, where we basically played from August until the middle of July. You said 35 days. The players have really only had like 20 total days off, and then they're back in training camp, a mini training camp starting today as you're listening to this episode, all the way through the 17th, which is our first game against Palace. So not much time off for a squad that was stretched to the max last year. But, we're going to have fun with predictions anyway.
And I think it's a fun time for us too, Brandon, because this is the 12th season of the Lens Blue podcast. That's right. 11 years of doing the show as of the end of this month. So pretty exciting times for us. And, I think there's plenty of stuff to be excited for this Chelsea season too.
Look, there's no doubt. It's once we hit double digits, even it was a pretty wild milestone and rolling on in just like we know how to do. So yeah, look, I think it's exciting. You guys have kept me up to date with a lot of stuff. I am really excited for what is going to happen this season with Champions League back. I mean, Dan, you guys are looking at doing somehow even more content this season than last, right? So I mean, that's the plan, right?
That is the plan. The plan of record is as follows, just in case you're wondering. We've been doing about 3 pods a week the entirety of this last season here. Very different from those lockdown COVID days when we were doing about 5 to 6 pods a week just to keep sane and connected with everybody. But with the Champions League back, you can expect 4 pods essentially every week through the entirety of the season. Maybe some of those international break weeks, we get a little frisky and go back down to 3, just because we need some time off too. But we also have the dedicated kind of YouTube content that we'll try to put out there. But I think in general, we want everything. And we've heard from you from our listener survey and from the comments on YouTube that you prefer the long form format of the podcast. So we're going to keep that locked in. So full pods, both on YouTube and on the audio feeds, always free to access there, which is wonderful. I mean, over 2 million listens and views across kind of all platforms for that full pod last year too, Nick. And I think there's plenty of things that, we want to kind of also do from just a recognition standpoint in terms of, we'll be, putting more effort into the newsletter this year. We're going to be doing stuff to try to kind of, make lives available as well. We want to make sure that people have a way to support the podcast, not just through Discord or Patreon, but other ways. And then I know you mentioned you want to go back to London at some point this year too.
Yeah, perhaps we're going to look at some options, send out a survey to the groups that have come with us before and to the rest of the London is Blue universe, see kind of what would work for as many people as possible. We know World Cup's coming up next summer, so people might be saving for different things soccer-wise, but lots to take in. We just want to say that another 2 million plus download, listen, whatever metric you use season is our 5th consecutive one of those, which is a pretty insane statistic to keep over time, despite the team being good for only one of those 5 seasons, really good. So just want to say thank you to everybody who's stuck with us and, through all the different kind of ruminations and scheduling of the different pods that have come out over the years, because it is a labor of love for us. We love doing it, and we love kind of being in your feed at least 3 times a week, but more likely 4 times a week this year across all of our different podcasts that we do. So just want to say a huge thanks about that.
And then we have some both exciting and I would say almost like just, program update news as well. Brandon Busby's try to field his own starting 11 here with, what's going on in his family. So why don't I just kick it over to you to take care of the
Okay,
rest?
hold up, Dan. I don't know about that. Here's I love to be back. I'm excited, right? We're gonna try to dip in as much as I can. I know I just did YouTube mainly last season, but we're gonna try to run it again. I can't make the full-time commitment as we continue the journey into fatherhood, especially you just heard look at all the stuff these guys are doing. I'm not getting in the way to slow them down. I'm gonna try to be there in the background to support. So for us, very excited in our family. We have a daughter coming at the end of November. So life is going to continue to get exciting, as Dan said, trying to stack rosters, build out the maybe five aside
Five
if
side,
I
yeah, there
am
you go.
playing.
That's maybe more reasonable to go for.
Still a stretch, but yeah, so it's gonna be fun, right? But because of that, like my time will be limited, so I'm gonna jump in whenever I can, just like on these season updates and try to stay connected. Because, like I said, we've been doing this a long time. Don't want to let it go if I don't have to, selfishly, right? Because it is fun to chat shop with so many people and friends like that. So if you don't hear from me kind of consistently, don't worry, I'm still around, just in the background. But you can always ping me and I'll try to get back to you as best I can. Obviously, I got a lot of ats towards the end of the season with Robert Sanchez. So clearly, I'm still seen as a thought leader in that space, which I can appreciate and do my duties there. But yeah, it's going to be a good season, no doubt.
Apparently, you must be paying your gold keeping member union dues still because people come to you for that
Always.
information. And we'll always bring you on for those very important episodes. Look, we want to get started though. 3-word season review. We typically do the 3-word match review, but this is a good way to set an expectation for what we think Chelsea's season might look like. Nick, give us one off the top.
Level up time. If you're champions of the world, you gotta now prove it in the biggest, baddest competition that there is. There has to
The
be some
Champions
big
League?
growth. Yep. And we'll see if they got it.
Brandon, what do you got?
I think it's the mentality of the team in this sense with Maresca and everyone. It's like win or stay on, right? With as you continue to add people to the team, as you continue to do stuff, at the end of the day, like winning is all that matters. And whoever's ready to do it needs to play. So for me, it's kind of that like, backyard setup when there's no referees, there's no officials. No, you win, you stay. And I hope that they run the squad like that this season because, we're going to need it. There's a lot of opportunities to get minutes.
Yeah, there's just only going to be about 50 plus games that Chelsea play this season. So just get locked in, get excited for it. I went with winners keep winning, and I put a question mark at the end because I think that is going to be the main question for this team is can they take winning the Europa Conference League, winning the Club World Cup, being the best team in the world, having the target not on the back, but on the front of the shirt with the gold badge. Can you handle the heat of this one? And can you take it into a Premier League where the best teams are acquiring players to get much, much better, where teams in Europe are continuing to figure out a way, the top ones are to reinforce too. And so that Champions League is not going to be easy. That Premier League is not going to be easy. And can Chelsea, Maresca, the players, the sporting directors, can all of them unify together to get it done? But look, jumping in, we always talk about it at the top. We're going to talk about league, domestic, cup, and then international cup performance. Real question is it's Chelsea's time? And so what we did here, just for the Premier League, we talked about where Chelsea might finish. So we kind of put into 4 categories. Will Chelsea finish as winners, number 1 overall, lifting the trophy at the end of the season? Will we be in a 2 through 4th spot? Will we be in a 5th through 6th spot? Or will we be 7th or below? Brandon, you were down on this one. So I'm going to have to put you on blast first. It's a little disappointing.
That's fine. Yeah, 5th, 6th. I mean, hedging the bets just in the sense of
Wow.
I'm what I'm most worried about is it's 50 matches on top of how many this summer, on top of how many last season, right? Going to the conference league final and all of that. And so it's not just one season. And then they head in the World Cup. It like there's just a lot to take into consideration. You have players like Enzo and all the other internationals, Cole Palmer, that are gonna talk to the club about making sure they're not pushing or risking too much ahead of a World Cup and things like that as well. So I think just because of that, we might be a victim of our own success. The only caveat I'd say, Nick, is it continuing to be like an under 23 average age squad. If there is ever a benefit of that, hopefully this is part of it.
Yeah, like I don't think there's going to be like a Villa because Villa has like kind of an older squad and they just run out the same 11 every week. I don't think that's going to be what we have to deal with. I do think your concerns are valid. Like the injury bug could catch us at any time, right? The way the schedule lines up could catch us. Like there's a lot of different things that can happen in a season. I did some math before, and I hate doing it, but I just wanted to alert the people as to like where the average like second through fourth, because that's where I'm predicting us to land. I think we'll be third. Uh, where the averages for those places are over the last 5 years. So last year, the average points needed for those spots 71, 23-24, 79, 22-23, 77, 21-22, 79, 20-21, 70. So it really is, I think kind of trending up on average towards like 75 to 79. I think this season is going to be so top heavy. You're going to have to gun for at least 80 points to be in that top three, to really be cemented up there. And so I think it's going to be a big jump up from 68 points to, get another 12 points out of where we were last year, potentially. I think the team is capable. That's why I'm putting them there, but it is going to be tough.
Look, I also went 2 through 4. I think it's probably a third place finish. I'd love to see us push into second place, though. And, look, I'd love to win the league. I just think we'll get to where I think Chelsea are going to do their damage later in the episode. I don't think it's going to be in England. I think it's going to be elsewhere. I think to your point, then kind of moving into like where we finish from a points perspective, I kind of put that into 4 buckets too, either over 80 points, 75 through 79, 70 through 74, or 16 or less points. And so I think to your point, you kind of talked about where you need to be. I mean, it sounds like from your view on 2 through 4, you're really expecting that Chelsea have to be in that at least 75 through, 79 or 80 and above.
The years where the league is super top heavy, those top teams have more points than everybody else does. And last year
There's
was
the big
year
fall
of
off.
yeah,
Right.
We're essentially like after 6, you're all basically in the same points total. Last year had so much parity where the middle teams were taking points off the top teams and so on and so forth. You had a much more balanced year. That was the same in 20 and 21. So I anticipate this going back to being a really top heavy, top 4, really maybe top 6 included sort of setup. And I think the points total for those top teams is going to go back up closer to where it was in 23, 24. So that's just where I'm seeing the league. I think a lot of the top teams got better and a lot of the middle bottom teams got worse.
That's the richness of the league, right? Like City will go continue to grab, and people will just cherry pick those players apart. Because when you have Nottingham Forest and Villa, and people looking at Ollie Watkins, obviously Newcastle and even Isak, if they lose their top person, their difference maker, and that person becomes a squad player, like think of Jack Grealish going to City from Villa. I mean, he barely played, and he's £100 million player. Credit to Villa for finding a way to get back. But yeah, this is you don't get to have 2 good seasons as a middle upper tier club. Like the big dogs are going to come in and take those players, just if nothing else, for an insurance policy on not having them compete next season, Dan.
Yeah, so I do think to your point, Nick, the 75 to 79 range is if Chelsea are going to finish in a second through fourth place position, that to me feels like the tier probably on the top end. And then Brandon, I think you went with this 70 to 74, which I think also aligns with maybe the point view that Nick put out there, that would be most likely a fifth to 6 point position. So we are really aligned starting this season. I feel like we maybe should shut up shop on this podcast right now before we get into disagreement here in the next couple.
It's going to be top heavy.
Yeah, we'll see. But Dan, come on, that's not what we do. Let's have some fun.
All right, well, let's get to the fun part. We're talking about the Champions League. So here's the question. Will we go as far as winning? Will we make it to the finals and lose? We'll make it to the semifinals and crash out in the semifinals. We'll make it to the quarterfinals. I'm not accepting a reality where we don't get through into the quarterfinals. That's I mean, you can tell me differently, but that's our minimum expectation here.
Can I just say, because you're consistently, why not us, pilled over here. Last season in the league, the new league phase stage, right? Which of course we played a similar style in the conference league with our friends Noah et al. Last year, the the cities of the world, the PSGs of the world. The PSG goes on to win the competition very easily. In the league phase, PSG was 15th, barely made it in as one of the not top 8 teams. City finished 22nd in the league phase. They dropped a bunch of points. Like Bayern Munich finished 12th, Real Madrid finished 11th. The league phase is not for suckers. Like this is going to be a really interesting thing. And as you're listening to this podcast, the Champions League draw was announced or will be announced depending on how early you listen to it. So we'll know today like where the actual draw lands. I think like I get it. You're excited, and I appreciate your enthusiasm for everything. I think we're
Yeah, because
quarterfinals.
we got to bury the fucking stinger. The stinger from last year is gone. The UECL stinger is gone. It's closed up. It's not coming back anymore. We're back in the effing Champions League, man.
First of all, you act as if I'm not capable of making a new stinger. That is ridiculous assertion. Second of all, we're quarterfinals or semifinals depending on the draw, depending on where we are. If we make that top 8, that's a whole different kettle of fish. If we don't make the top 8, it's a much harder road. So I'm just saying that out loud. I don't think we win it, but I do think there's a competitive streak in the team.
Brandon, what's your view here?
It's a mentality thing. I mean, the one thing with the Conference League last season is they could show up and know they're going to win, right? For the most part, we weren't really challenged like this. Even if you find a Bayer Leverkusen or like, and who else would be there from last season? Like Benfica can be tough. I guess there's a lot of teams at the bottom, but you get drawn with just the teams are so much more difficult. And as we talk about the Premier League being the most difficult league, it just felt like we'd always have to play like Man City and then Champions League draw, then United, and then Champions League draw. It's just, it was always difficult in that sense. So I think there's going to be mentality and learning to step up a level with this competition that I think is going to catch this
games.
Exactly. And I think that's where it gets back to fatigue and able to like, how do you manage these big matches within a competitive Premier League season? So I've round to 16, because of that.
Dan's not accepting that answer though, Brandon. So
well, it's true, right? And that's why he gets his own choice to bring to the table. We don't have to agree.
Yeah. I think we're winning it. I have a sneaking suspicion.
And look, put a punt on it.
I will. Well, actually, we bet we have a very bad history on betting on Chelsea. Just like so, I actually think that's the worst thing I could do is go put money on it.
You have a bad record until you don't, Dan. Only takes one. Any good gambler will tell you that.
Enzo Bresco in finals. All it took was 1 or 2, and he got it done. Yeah, I think we're winning the whole thing. I think that we are becoming a bastard team full of bastards, bastard coated filling, as Nick Verlaney loves to talk about. I think we are going to be a really tough get. I think we are a team that other teams are not going to want to play next year. Like, I think the mentality and view of this Chelsea team externally is getting a little sharper, a little meaner, a little feistier. And so I just, when we were that type of team before, we went out and dominated. And like, I don't think we're ready to like dominate in that same level in the Premier League yet. Cause like, we are not still the biggest side or like the physically most imposing side. But I think we are going to be a fun team to go out and play and ball in Europe.
I agree with that. I agree with your point. I think the difference between us and Liverpool and Bayern Munich and City and PSG is their shot conversion is much better than ours. And like, you could tell me, hey, Joao Pedro is going to be the second coming of whoever, or, Liam Delap or Nicholas Jackson gets back on fire or whatever. We still need to put the ball in the back of the net to win this competition or give up 0 goals like we did in 2020, 2021. And like,
did you not meet Robert Sanchez in the Club World Cup final? That's all I'm saying, Nick.
World's best goalkeeper, Robert Sanchez. Yes, of course. It's just a whole different kettle of fish, man. So we'll see.
All right, well, let's get a first ad break out of the way. When we get back, we will talk about the domestic cups before we go on to some player-specific awards. So stay tuned, and we'll be right back. All right, so for the domestic cups, this would be the League Cup and the FA Cup, where just all the magic of the sport happens. The real question is, will we do the double? Would we win both of them? Would we win only one of them? Would we win none but make deep runs either into the semifinals or finals, or win none with a very shallow run where we get knocked out? We've seen some seasons where we've had better odds than others. But Brandon, what do you think ends up happening this year?
I don't think we win one, but this is where I kind of wobble a little bit. I think we'll have a deep run, and I think they'll prioritize the FA Cup, but less so the EFL Cup, because the EFL Cup starts during Champions Leagues and things, and like it's one too many. At least FA Cup, you're starting kind of midway, so you have an idea of where you are as a team. Um, you know, I just it's going to come down to priorities. We did see Marescan team prioritize the Conference League, right? Brought in the Cole Palmer and some extra players once the rosters unfroze and went for it. But I think, look, top four in Champions League will be what the players want, what the club wants, what the coaching staff wants, and so I don't think we're in a life of luxury quite yet right now, Nick, where we can go after 2, 3 competitions at the same time. So I think they're going to sacrifice the domestics.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. I also think that we're just overdue for an FA Cup. Like I
We're owed one.
believe not owed one, but I feel like performance wise, like this team can control games against the early stages of the FA Cup, and we've seen the FA Cup become completely unpredictable in the last couple of seasons as teams do prioritize the bigger competitions. So I think there's a chance that we win the FA Cup this year, and I was not bullish last year, as many repeated to me all season about my lack of bullishness. So I'm going to be bullish on this one. I think that the Champions League is going to provide us a kind of litmus test to see how good we are. And maybe we don't win that one as I predicted, but I do think that this team is going to want to win something. And I think the FA Cup is the thing that they will want to win if we don't win the Champions League. So I'm all in on the FA Cup. I really do want us to win that one again and kind of right the wrongs of the last few times we've been at Wembley.
Yeah, I would love that too. I think to the point that the Brandon made around like, will Chelsea or will Maresca sacrifice one competition for another? I think that's going to be where maybe we take our eye off the ball just a touch if we are doing well in the Champions League, which I think we will be doing. So in that scenario, I'm aligned with Brandon. I think we win none, but have some deep runs in both competitions. Let's go to the player awards though. So this is our category. We talk about players and their individual performances. We do our young player of the season, golden boot, top assister, like all of those things here. And this year, a little bit different.
Okay, before you get in, can we define young player of the season? Do you have like an age criteria that's
So the PFA, in England, determined it as 21 on July 1st, heading into the season.
You almost need a new one just for Chelsea.
I think your young player of the season then is out of contention. Your first one. So
he's not. He was 21 as of July 1st.
Really?
Yes, because I checked FBref before we started.
Yeah, classic
right.
Dan move. This
is just stretching the limits.
100%. Yes.
Look, all I'm doing is playing by the rules that are assigned here. That's all I'm doing, Nick.
Anyway, sorry to interrupt your rules. Go on with your new format.
Well, look, I mean, here's the thing. That's just how it works. I mean, that's what it says on FBref. I'm going with it. Anyway, this time we're doing safe picks. We're doing like mid-risk picks and then on the ledge. So if you've listened to our preview pods, we do kind of an on the ledge, a little bit more of like hey, this is probably not going to be likely, but we're going to make some fun cases for like if a certain player was to be player of the season above other more general picks, like someone like a Cole Palmer, why would that be the case? And then same for our young player of the season as well. So, Brandon, who'd you go with for player of the season, young player of the season? What's your case?
Well, I mean, I think Enzo's probably seems to be our natural standing captain, consistently leads the team. I think he should be poised to have a really good season. I did sneak Levi in once, you let us know that he is just under it. I am interested. I don't know when Andre Santos's birthday is. Like he could potentially, replace him if we needed someone a little bit more outside the.
Andre's 21. He completely makes the criteria. So you're good on Andre.
So I would punt off Levi and go with Andre Santos just to bring something different, I think, to the fight, Dan.
Nick, I mean, you have some different opinions here because
Yeah, so Brandon went Enzo and Levi as player of the season, young
Yep.
player of the season. Dan went Cole and Levi. I went Moises Caicedo, Andre Santos. I think that is like for me. I'm
back
projecting
to
a bit.
back to
Yeah,
back players of the season. That's a more unique one actually.
it is, and I think the reason I did that is like obviously we all know Cole Palmer is the best player on the team. It kind of felt like cheating to pick him. I think he's probably the overwhelming favorite on the odds. So it is what it is. So I think it's going to be interesting to see how the goals and assists get spread across the front three, four, whatever the combination is. And yeah, so I just think Moises Caicedo is going to be the most important cog in the wheel if we are to do well as he was last season. And I think that Andre will play a lot this year and show his leadership skills. So I'm going to go with those two.
Well, and then we went with kind of our like mid risk ones where I think it makes it a little bit harder. You know, it's there is a case, I think, an easier case to be made for him.
hmm
I don't think Brandon's actually his pick for like a safe player of the season there, and Enzo Fernandez. Like to me, he was my kind of mid risk one here, where I think there is a very viable case for where he ended last season to catapult into this year, particularly getting ready for the World Cup again. Like, could this be the year where he just like drives forward again to level up? And I think a more like risky one that could be interesting if he were able to duplicate and even maybe exceed where he was at in the Bundesliga last season is Jamie Gittins. Like, yeah, but that's a very like it's kind of wild cardy. So I didn't know if I necessarily felt like that was the safest one. That's why I put in the mid risk. But I know Brandon, you took Knicks with Caicedo, and you moved him in as your mid-risk player of the season.
Yeah, that's probably nothing crazy though, right? So I mean, his is non-goals. Like we need creators, right? Like if Caicedo is our player of the season again, like I don't think we've done good enough. That's just my vibe. When you have a defensive midfielder winning player of the season, you didn't achieve the objectives you wanted. So that's how I positioned it, to be quite honest. And then Estevao,
One N'Golo Conte would disagree with your assessment, my guy.
oh, right, and he's the exception to the rule, right? Absolutely. Even he scored a couple goals accidentally. So, we've seen Caicedo. He has ripped a couple, but anyways, that's kind of my general principle on that. So, yeah.
Who's
And
your
then
young player? Sorry.
You potentially Estevao. I was trying to see if I could sneak in like even like an Asugo or something. I still am just not as teed up on some of these like really young players coming in. But I have been kind of like looking down the roster of ages and things like that. And it is interesting just to see kind of how the makeup of the squad is with these like, 21 and under players. And you're buying some from Sporting, like you got to have big hopes and plans for these people. So it's just a matter of, Nick, the hard part, like, is you're guessing here, who's going to take the opportunities and run?
Steva was my mid risk as well. I went with Kukurea as my player of the season mid risk. He's
Ooh.
just ascending in my mind. I don't know. I don't know what it is. I really, really enjoy this version of Kukurea, and he could be poised for a big season, especially if he gets to rest on some midweeks, put in some big Champions League performances or vice versa, rest on weekends for the big Champions League games. I'm very excited about that.
It's funny to see how you and Brandon kind of switched on a couple things here because on the ledge, Brandon goes for Kukurea, his player of the season, as a kind of opportunity one there. So there's some similar thought about like the players who are really drawing
The group.
attention right now. There is a core group that I think we're looking at: the Enzo, the Cole Palmer, Caicedo, Kukurea, some real like locked in non or undroppable players rather in the side.
Kukurea, we all wanted out a couple seasons ago. I always think about that. Has he grown as a player? Has he settled in the system better? But I mean, he played every single minute of the Club World Cup. Like he's, I believe, won the captain's armband on some occasions. Like it is a very interesting, just like arc that he's been on. And it's to the point where Chelsea go get Hato for good amount of money to the Matt Law pod that you did, Nick, just to give Cucurella rest. Like they are buying essentially to reduce his minutes with many millions of pounds to make that happen. So it also shows how important the club view him in this system as well.
Well, and then you went with Andre Santos as your young player of the season, which was Nick's young player of the season for his safe pick. And then, I think I think Nick and I got a little bit more interesting in our on the ledge predictions here. I don't know if you want to go first or I can, because I think
Yeah.
both of us have some interesting ones there that we've gone after.
If we have a big goal scoring season, I could see Joao Pedro being player of the season. Like if he's able to get into the 15,
More than
16,
five league
17,
goals in a season. Yeah,
more than five
that's
league goals. Yeah, that would be great. So yeah, that would upset Mr. Thurman, I think, pretty much. And then about the young player of the season, Josh Chachiambong.
Mm.
I just there's something he has something about him, and with all the Thai news as we were just kind of breaking and recording today, like I really do hope that there's a spot for Josh in this team and that he's able to take the minutes that um, you know, are available to him, whether through injury or just through his own skill and will and training and making himself important. And I think if we have a big season there with Josh, that would be a really on the ledge one right now, because he probably has in my my young player seasons the least chance to get minutes. I would say with
Yeah.
the people in front of him. Who knows? Crazy things have happened.
Yeah, that's also why I went with for my young player of the season on the ledge, Estevao, because the minutes question to me is the biggest thing in terms of like how much will he actually get a chance to play, impress, and really inform individuals, get an opportunity to put his imprint on the game. And then my on the ledge player of the season would be one that, like, if he were able to contribute the entire of the season, doesn't have an injury issue, can captain this side fully and show up in some big game moments, and Chelsea go on to do something crazy like win the Champions League. I feel like Reece James could be like it feels weird to say it because like Reece is just like on his day is a great player, but I think like the consistency element is there. But I would love for that one to come true, because then we did some really cool stuff this season.
How many minutes are we talking? I mean, it was the only thing preventing me from like putting him as one of mine as well. Like, how many minutes do you think we're talking about if he's player of the season?
I think his league minutes need to be over 2,000 again, which he has only done one time for Chelsea and then has only done twice in his senior career, because he had almost 4,000 at Wigan and then he had almost 2,400 in that 2020-21 season. Every other season, even last season was just over 1,000 minutes in the league. So I think he needs to be a minimum above 2,000 in the Premier League, which would be phenomenal and great for us, I think. And then season wide minutes, I would imagine he's pushing over 300, probably close to like 3,300.
Yeah,
That's my thought.
solid. Yeah.
All right. Well, look, that was a fun one. It was a fun little section, but we're going to take another ad break because when we get back, we do want to talk about the Golden Boot, who tops the assist chart, and so many other things. So stay tuned. We'll be right back. All right. Well, here's a fun one. And look, I think we were all pretty straight across the line here for our safe pick when it came to who is going to score the most goals, because no surprise, Brandon went with Cole Palmer. I went with Cole Palmer, and Nick went with Cole Palmer. I think the only variation on our safe picks were for the assist leader. Brandon and Nick both went with Cole. I went with Enzo Fernandez. That's the only variation there. You could have sold me on Cole getting both, though. Like, I think that is a very realistic possibility. I just think, look, if I'm having him score everything, I feel like somebody's going to need to be giving it to him. But if we win everything, I mean, maybe Cole's doing both. I don't know.
I mean, he's got set pieces, right? That's his leg up on some of those. So
Gets more penalties this year, maybe too.
Yeah, anywhere close though, he's going for a target. So I think that's part of it. Or it's like Nick, these like kind of like the silly assists where he's in the box. It gets cluttered because everyone steps to him and the ball kind of pops out to someone and they tap in for the finish, right? I think he's going to get some of those scrubby assists that way that FPL owners are going to love.
My number one consideration with putting Cole top assists is that Cole should have had many more assists last season than he actually got because of lack of finishing. So if the finishing goes up, hypothetically, then his numbers will go way up.
Mhm.
That was kind of the logic pattern there. But I could also see
Yeah.
Enzo Fernandez. I think these are the easily the safest picks of all of the things that we're doing in this season preview.
Well, then, as we go into the mid risk category, so, Brandon and Nick, you both went with Joao Pedro as your golden boot or, top scorer for Chelsea on the mid risk side. I mean, it does feel like we saw him score some pretty fun goals in the Club World Cup. So, if we were to continue that, Nick, it does feel like a pretty good bet there.
Yeah, I mean, you hope one of our forwards turns it on this year. I don't really care who I'm picking, Joel Pedro, because right now he's the hottest hand as of August 3rd. But it could be Liam Delap, it could be Nicholas Jackson, it could be a transfer that has not been made yet at Chelsea. It could be Pedro Neto, who really cares. We need lots of goals to achieve the targets that we all have this season, whether it's win a domestic trophy, win the Champions League, or win the league. So hopefully, Joao Pedro is on his A game and really shows up.
Well, then, so Brandon, do you have another thought on that one?
Well, it's just look, he's 2 seasons ago scored 20 goals, 3 assists, right, for Brighton. And then last season, the 10-7. I'm pretty sure he had injuries last season. What we've seen immediately in the World Cup, Dan, just surprised me at how quickly he got off and running.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think don't want to get too excited too early, but the expectation is, it was definitely the signing they wanted as a Premier League proven striker, young, even over Liam Delap. So I think that he's going to get the majority of the chances, especially early on in the season. So it's going to be up to him to score.
Yeah. So I went with the fact that maybe there is like some City Academy kind of benefit to Liam Delap and Cole Palmer playing together before in the mid-risk territory. And then maybe Liam Delap and Cole Palmer just like, hey, let's run it back like we used to in those academy days and like get it done together. I don't know if that's going to be the case. I think that we are still wait and see a little bit on Liam Delap as we kind of get into the season here, but it would be a fun one as we kind of take a look there. Your mid risk, Nick, was Enzo, and then Brandon, yours was Gittins for assist. I feel like both of those are pretty. I think the Enzo one's probably a little easier to make the case for. The Gittins one, Brandon, though, is like you're hoping to replicate Bundesliga to Premier League, which has always been a little bit of wonky conversion rate.
For sure. But here's my question for Nick on this. Like, is Enzo getting open play assists through balls? Like, where are his coming from? That would be my question.
I think it depends on where he's played. I mean, last season he got into the box a lot more. I don't know if that's going to be the case this season. So I'm thinking from deeper areas or on set pieces too. I mean, he also can take set pieces. He can also take corners. Like we've seen a lot of different possibilities with him. I just really depends on the setup and how Enzo Maresca, I think prioritizes him, because like last season he prioritized Enzo Fernandez as like the second creator to Cole Palmer. And when Cole Palmer was bracketed by 2 or 3 players, Enzo Fernandez had a much easier path in. So we'll see.
So the reason I asked that is because I think it's harder to get them from deeper. If he can get in around the box and a little bit out wide, we've seen him deliver delicious crosses, right? Where it's like and it can be any of our, high forwards as well, is can they create that separation to get the ball in, or can they get in behind the back line where now we're running at them? So that was my only angle, Dan, hoping for something a little bit different, right? A different profile. You hope that he's going to be able to create that yard of separation to get a delivery in early. That's just how I'm trying to split the hairs here, right? Because it's all fine margins.
Well, when I went on the ledge, I was like, "Hey, Jamie Gittins to me, assist leader, like that would be an interesting one if you were able to duplicate there." Which is also I went with a like complete, like maybe not like a super off the wall, but definitely not the first name in anybody's sheet here in terms of like who could potentially be the Golden Boot winner. I don't know. Maybe Pedro Neto has like his best senior season ever. Like that would be a very shocking one. Though it would almost be like the Jorginho season where it's like if Pedro Neto is your top scorer, what happened to your team?
Yeah, at what cost, Dan? Right?
Yeah.
At what cost are we going here?
I don't want to be that right. The world, I'm telling the world right now, I don't want to be that right.
Yeah.
I don't think that, I think Nick's one is probably the most interesting because of the narrative structure or conversation around this player over the last couple of weeks. That would be a good one, though.
I mean, if anything, we missed Neto on the assists, 18 in the last 2 seasons.
Yeah.
The denotation for my on the ledge, Nico Jackson, Golden Boot winner. He may or may not be here in a month. We don't know. But I am of the opinion that Nico still has a big role to play in this team. I know it might not seem like it right now. I know he'll probably start the season as third string. We'll see. I mean, he has trust to earn back, all this sorts of stuff. But nothing fuels higher performance than competition. And I believe that he's a competitor. So we'll see. It's entirely possible. I also think it's entirely possible that Andre Santos leads assists too. He's a incredibly gifted player. He can do a lot of great things. He's scored more than he assisted for Strasbourg, but I think that was largely by design. I don't think that's going to be, his requirement to carry the bulk of the goal scoring load, although he can do that at Chelsea. So maybe he turns into more of a facilitator.
And then, Brandon, you did have on the ledge Liam Delap as your Golden Boot winner, and then Estevao as your assist leader. Which, again, at what cost is one of those
That's
happening?
Wild.
Yeah, for sure. But again, striker scores goals. Shock headline, right? Like that's who we put up there to go get the goals. Again, part of it is if this is going to work out, this is how we should see. It comes down to, again, who performs better, Joao Pedro or Liam Delap, and then they're going to run the rest of the season. So it's good to have competition. You can throw Nico Jackson in as well, and let them fight. So yeah.
Well, let's shift in then to the conversation around some of our other superlatives that we have here. Ones like most improved, the Iron Man who played the most minutes, Master of the Dark Arts, and a few others. Most improved, so best season over season improvement. And I think that we all have a couple of interesting ones here because, I may have just taken a player who played for a different team last season and also included them in this grouping because rules, why not? Brandon, you and I, though, are on the same page with the safe pick for this one with Pedro Neto. I think it's a really good call.
Again, coming out of a really strong Club World Cup, this will be his second season at the club, a little bit more settled, can score and assist. It'll be really interesting to see, how he breaks through in the team. I also think there was a lot of rotation and stuff last season. I think that he's probably feeling a little bit more settled, I would say, maybe at this point, based on who's now around him within those wide spots out on the right.
And then, I do think, Nick, you have one that's, I think, a very interesting safe pick, also probably benefiting from the Club World Cup boost heading into the season.
Yeah, mine's Malagusto. I think it'd be tough to have a worse season. So the only place to go is up. But I do think like if he is played as a auxiliary wing back or someone who's allowed to get into forward areas, run the wide channels, not be forced to invert, we have an interesting player there, like for sure. Like, but if he's forced to do the more rigid stuff that he was last year, then it's obviously this is a risky pick as a safe pick, right? So I am assuming that Enzo Maresca is going to identify where he can play and how he can play and be better. And I think it will lead to better results. And so I do have Malagusto as my safe pick for best season over season improvement.
Yeah, and you and Brandon flipped and flopped on your safe and mid-risk picks. Brandon had Malagusto as his mid-risk, and you had Pedro Neto as yours. I went with a mid-risk who's not on the team, and that was Joao Pedro. Is that like, can you have a massive season over season improvement and just coming into this club, coming into this team, getting to play with better players on the daily? Like, I do think that there's an opportunity for him to win the coveted Prove Mr. Thurman Wrong Award 2025-26. And that will get you a really, really nice souvenir of a, I don't know, Discord message printed out or sent over via email. So
now,
that's a good one.
Let's just clarify. The 3 goals he scored in the Club World Cup do not count to his season over season tally.
They don't
that
count
is
in
the
his
past.
league goal total.
No,
they count in his
no.
total season number.
No,
so just,
no, that was
yes, they do.
No, we just said the Club World Cup is last season. That's
yeah.
old news.
They
now
count last season. Yes, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yes, you're correct. Yes, I misheard. Anyway, on the ledge though, you guys went with one that I think is very interesting. I think it's a good choice.
It's a big choice. Brandon, as the goalkeeping union associate here, Robert Sanchez as the on the ledge season over season improvement. Give it to me. Come on.
Again, this is going to kind of come down to if the team's going to do anything this season and Sanchez is starting, you're going to need the Club World Cup version of this guy. Look, the bobbles, the misplaced passes, the just I don't know. He's bald now, so could be a whole new player for us that we haven't even seen. So he's
Bald
changing
Bob?
it up
I don't
on
think
the
he's
on the
bald. I think it's the
appearances.
choice to shave it, to be fair.
That's what I'm saying, right? So like he's making changes to his game to help him perform, and clearly it's working out.
More streamlined.
So exactly. Look, it's what I think is most frustrating is that we will go see these things. Like I think of the quick kind of like tip save off the glancing headers and stuff. And you're like, okay, there is a player here, but the consistency is really hard, I think, for the Chelsea fans. So anyways, let's see what he's got. If we're going to do anything, this is how you're going to get it done, is having a rock solid goalkeeper. So
my on the ledge one that I went with is Andre Santos, because and here's the case for it. Here's my case. He ends up with 15 goals and assists across all competitions last season, 3,000 minutes played in Ligue 1. I think it would be super interesting if he duplicated that with playing in the Premier League and getting enough minutes to do it at Chelsea. Like that would be a massive season over season improvement. Like that would be huge.
I'm an Andre truther, and that's even like I'm like eyes wide open on that one. Like that would be amazing.
That's why it's a tall ask. Like to replicate it from what we would consider, maybe a step down kind of league, or in terms of overall competition. Like I think when you come from Ligue 1, when you come from the Bundesliga, I think like to replicate it and basically stay flat with coming into Chelsea would be a massive season over season improvement.
What's the conversion? So he had 15 last year, all comps. Is it 9? Is it 10? Premier League?
I think 10 would be the floor I would
tax?
look at for him next season.
Okay. Yeah. I would. Yeah, 10 would be amazing.
It would be amazing because we need goals from all different places, because we also jettisoned a couple of people who scored plenty of goals for us last year. Look, Iron Man, though, as the individual, plays the most minutes across all competitions here. And we were all in agreement that Bobbert Sanchez is going to be the safe pick for most minutes across all competitions. Brandon, you and I, though, we agreed on the mid-risk individuals, Moises Caicedo playing the most minutes, which would not be outside the realm of possibility. I think the biggest thing is like we've seen him come back for international duty, and unlike Enzo Fernandez, like he just gets dropped in and like plays again and doesn't seem to bother him. So I do think it's a pretty safe bet, because there's just there's no second option for Moises Caicedo in this team. Like he is a level above the other midfield grouping.
Well, it's also like his DNA as a player. Like I guarantee when people were watching him come up through the youth ranks, what they saw was he just never stopped. Like he would play 90 minutes. He wouldn't stop running for 90 minutes. Then he gets in these international competitions. Like Caicedo, this is the only way he knows how to play, right? Like Enzo is going to appreciate a day off. Moises is not. And so you just keep playing him. And as long as he's healthy, he's one of those guys you just have to play every single minute of every single season. And that's why I think he's going to be there. So barring any injuries and some early subs, he's second in line for me.
Yeah, and your stance with Cucurella as the mid-risk, I mean, seems pretty comfortable considering he also played the most minutes for Chelsea last season. So, I mean, I think you're saying that probably because you're hoping he doesn't do it again. But if he did, okay.
I was kind of in between Caicedo and Cucurella here. I think that there's more, even though we just signed Drill Hatto and everyone's very excited about that, and rightfully so. I think there's more potential backup for Caicedo than there is for Cucurella. And I do think in the big matches, like you're going to have an interesting dynamic between who the stars are and how do you fit the stars into all the things. I think Cucurella is still going to play a lot this year.
Mm-hmm.
And then last one, you actually had like the top three in yours, Nick. So you had Cole Palmer as on the ledge, which, I mean, if you're going deep in the Champions League, deep in all these cup competitions, like you could see Cole Palmer playing a ton of minutes this year. Brandon did go with your mid-risk as the on the ledge with Cucurella, and the only one that I think was kind of highly variant was Levi Colwell that I picked.
Yeah, I think the only case I'd make, and I know Cole Palmer doesn't seem on the ledge, but if you're hypothetically going to go into the season with 9 attackers, like you should play the majority of these people if you really believe in them, right? Like, and I think like it's not because Cole's not good enough to play; he's the best player in the team. But ideally, you wouldn't want him getting kicked the shit out of every 20 minutes in a game for the entire length of 60 plus matches. So I think there could be perhaps a little bit more rest for the star guys this year if we feel like the depth is there to really support it.
All right, well, let's go into super subs, or the super sub rather, which is ours on it's the individual that just kind of comes in and beyond being a regular sub is able to impact the game in a different way, different capacity. Nick, you just decided, hey, he officially got announced as a player today. I'm going to go with the guy and put him right on the safe pick area. So why don't you talk about your guy?
Yeah, it really it depends on how he fits in, but I think like you bring in Jarrell Hatto for moments, and it won't mean that Kukurea won't play a ton of minutes. It might mean that he's the last 30 guy if Kukurea is tired, or he's the cup, type player for starts to give Kukurea a midweek break, or he might be a Premier League Sunday or Saturday guy for the Champions League weeks. He's going to play this season. I'm excited to see him play. Doesn't mean Kukure is not going to play a ton of minutes, but it's going to be a different sort of vibe having some real backup there, and I think it will be a good thing.
Then Brandon, your safe pick was also my mid-risk pick, and Andre Santos as the super sub. I like this one. I think this is a good call.
He can play a lot of different, I think, places in the team, come in late, whether you need a goal or to control a game because he's so good with the ball at his feet. So that's why I was like, oh, I could see him flexing into a lot of different positions that opens him up to probably not obviously being a starter, but being one of the first names off a bench if you have to change a game or control it.
Yeah, that's why I went with Jamie Gittins as my kind of safe pick because I feel like he's not, day one, the starting winger on either flank in this team. And so he's going to need to make it happen off the bench. And it'll be very interesting to see if he can kind of get that done. I do like your Andre Santos shout. He was my mid risk option there. In terms of other mid risks, I mean, you had Andre Santos as well there too, Nick. Brandon had Liam Delap as his mid risk of a super sub. So I guess in your scenario, who's typically starting at striker, which means that Liam Delap becomes the super sub?
I mean, Joao Pedro.
Okay.
Like, I'm just playing the hot hand off the Club World Cup.
Brandon Busby just laying it down, telling you what Enzo Maresca is going to do for day one.
Yeah, I think, well, I mean, if you look at the two signings, I think you would imagine that Joao Pedro is closer to the finished article in Chelsea's eyes. That's my guess, right? And again, he jumped in immediately at the Club World Cup, made instant impacts. Like, they're going to continue to just let him run it out. So that's really what I'm coming on. I'm also thinking Delap, Nick, physical, like towards the end of a game, you need something, or you just need someone to chase down center backs and be a huge issue for them. I think he fits that mold because not only is he physical, but he runs as well. And so, again, I think that he could be a very strategic destroyer of center backs this season.
Yeah, it's a good pick. I mean, I think Delap is going to be a sub. I think Andre might start some games, and so I think like that's my kind of differentiation across. Like, if the categorization is not just the substitute minutes, like the 10 minutes that you get at the end of the game or whatever, and you do get a start, and it's most minutes across all competitions, I think Andre is going to play quite a bit this season.
And then, as we look at some of the other ones here that we picked, I mean, Nick, you had Estevos on the ledge as well as BB here. I mean, that does feel like he could have some fun ones. I mean, he scored a goal against us in the Club World Cup. I mean, if he could do that a couple times off the bench, we definitely would be singing his praises.
Yeah, I give him time. I think this might be a late surge in the season once he's comfortable and embedded in. But yeah, give him time.
I went with Nico Jackson as my on the ledge because I don't see him as the starter at this point in time. So it's going to have to happen off the bench. So, and that also is projecting that he is still here because that also could be one of our famous, like we say that's going to happen, and then it doesn't happen because they get sold before the window closes. But look, Master of the Dark Arts is always a fun one here for us. Nick and I were in lockstep here. The safe pick is Mark Cucurella. Your Caicedo one is interesting, Brandon Busby. I don't know how you live with yourself being that wrong on the safe pick.
I don't know. Look, obviously the final, right? Cucurella baiting whatever his name was from PSG into
Sean
yeah,
Evans. Yeah.
grab his hair and things like that. Yeah, I mean, it's not the hair, but he has the David Luiz where he'll bait you in and then have an embellished reaction, right, to those things. Like he does that very well. I just said Caicedo because how many feet and ankles has he stomped on in the last 2 seasons? Like this guy also gets away with it a little bit more. I think it's a little bit more subtle in that sense, but like Caicedo's contact per match, I think, is a lot higher. So that's where I leaned in with him on that.
That's interesting. So, I mean, the last 3 seasons, let's go here. Brighton, 12 cards, 14 cards when he came to Chelsea with Moises Caicedo, and then 13 cards across 36, almost 3,700 minutes, almost 4,000 minutes, and 3,700 minutes. When you flip to Cucurella, like he's obviously been at Chelsea an extra season, so we'll use the same 3 seasons. 6 cards, 10 cards, 11 cards, 2,100, almost 2,200. 2,200 again, and then moving up to almost 3,800 this last season. I do feel like if you're saying who can kind of get away with it more, I actually think Cucurella is the one who can sell it a little bit more.
Yeah,
He's on the receiving end. It's just different, right?
On the receiving end, he has some crazy body checks. What are you talking about?
Yeah. Our criteria for Nico last year was he needs to be more subtle with it. That obviously did not work in terms of
Are you sure?
where things went. But yeah, subtlety, I think, is part of the art here. And also, I do love the embellishment. I think the embellishment's hilarious. And when it happens against you, you hate it. When it happens for you, you're giggling to yourself. So that's kind of my criteria.
Yeah, I mean, I did like the fact that you had Mark Cucurella as your mid-risk there, Brandon. I think the fun one was that for mid-risk, Nick and I had the same one, Levi Colwell. You had him as your on the ledge one here. I mean, again, we saw him those first couple games when he came to Chelsea off of that Brighton loan. A little shaky, maybe getting a little heated at times, kind of going toe-to-toe. But in this last season, ended up with 9 cards across 3,300 minutes and definitely found himself, I think, a little bit more in control across this. And definitely, I think at times put a working on a player here and there. Put a bow on a player, put a little bit of a shove on a player, got a little bit away with a couple things there. And I mean, that is the definition of the master of the dark arts.
Part of becoming a leader at Chelsea is learning this important skill. And so if he's going to be in the leadership group, which I think he probably is already, really making sure that you master this part so you're not getting unnecessary cards and putting yourself out of games is really critical. So that's where I'm going with that one.
And then the other one, again, because Brandon had Levi for his on the ledge, you went with Pedro Neto for your on the ledge there, Nick. I went with Liam Delap. And I think the only challenge for me with Liam Delap is he's going to need to do the thing where he gets smarter and not get carded for it.
He's a bull in a china shop, dude. I think that's going to be a learned skill that might take a couple seasons. Neto's a little bit more subtle with it. I also wanted to throw Toasted in there. There's a lot of shithousery in this team right now, which I'm enjoying. There was a lot of options, so this was kind of a fun category.
But it's a lot better. I mean, even a couple seasons ago, we had no options.
This
was we were like Reece James, maybe it was
Chelsea was running
tough.
a soft serve station. Like we were Charmin, man. And now we actually got some steel behind us. It's really nice.
Yeah.
Domestic banana peel. That's one where which team trips us up. I went with safe pick because thank God there's no Ipswich this year in the league, so that's wonderful. Manchester City, I think, is the easy one because just we've struggled against them in the league, but it's not obviously a fun pick. Brandon, you went with one that's recently we've struggled against in Wolves, and then Nick, you went with Villa.
Yeah, I think Villa is going to be. They always play us tough. I know we kind of beat them up in the first game last season. They beat us in the second game. It just feels like it's a competitive game that could go any which way, to be candid. So nothing really more into it than that. Why Wolves, Brandon?
I think it's kind of like that off week schedule. It's like a little bit of a goofy trip. they've got enough people to I think haunt you a little bit. Obviously, losing their striker helps, but it's kind of like one of those gut picks as you just look up and down the schedule and things like that. I hated scrolling by Wolves. You're like, oh yeah, there's a bad taste in my mouth still. Also, I think like some of the other teams that have bothered us, like to your point, like Brighton coming down quite a bit. I Brentford coming down quite a bit in quality. West Ham haven't really done much. So I'm trying to find someone who could still be a thorn and maybe surprise some people this season. And yeah, just total hunch. No good data.
Yeah, I do think Brighton last season we definitely struggled against. So I think your mid-risk choice for that, even with some of the player changes there, Nick, is kind of where I was at for a mid-risk situation. Though Brandon goes with Everton as the wild card option there for mid-risk. I mean, that would home and away. There's always a little bit of a different way in how we play Everton, but I mean it's also a new ground, so maybe there's no juju there that we have to worry about.
Yeah, let's hope
I
it's
was
less
wondering
haunted,
about that. Hey, Nick, you got to watch out for that Hill Dickinson Stadium now.
Did you see the report that when they opened their team store, they sold like 600 pounds of gear, and like they had roped off sections and like tons of staff, and then like 10 people came in. I mean, like, damn, that's tough.
I've like bought that much just for Reed whenever I'd go to London and send back to him, and that's what they're doing for their entire group. That's no bueno.
Yeah.
And then the on the ledge one, you guys both went with Burnley, which I mean, historically is like definitely been a kind of consideration here. The only thing I'm going to put out there is like a real odd one. Is just because I think Thomas Frank and his Brentford team like have done some tough work against us. I don't know. I have this like sneaking suspicion that like maybe we're going to like struggle against Tottenham this year, which I don't like saying. I actually hate the words that are coming out of my mouth right now. But if I'm going to have to like come up with something that's way more on the ledge, is like a little bit of an oddball one. I think because of Thomas Frank, they somehow give us a bit of a problem.
Boo.
Yes, boo me, please.
You got
boo
a
me.
reason.
I'm booing you.
Drag me in the comments. Like, absolutely. Like, come after me, please, 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 because I don't want it to come true. I'm just coming up with something for the content. That's all I'm doing here.
For the content, for the sake of the content. Yeah. Burnley sucks, and I hate them. And I hope that we dominate them, but it's another weird one.
Just the trip, our friends over in London said
awful.
Anytime you have to get off the main line to go to an away day, they're like, it's a bad day.
Yeah.
All right. Well, our last one here, the Didier Drogba Big Game Hero Award. It's for players who show up when it matters. I mean, I think for safe pick, we all were in agreement here. It is the Cole Palmer show. It is the have you been skinned by Mr. Cole Palmer, call the hotline type of situation here. And there's no other player that we would select. Where we found some differences in opinion were those mid-risk players here. Brandon, you went with?
Joao Pedro.
Oh, what's the case?
Again, need a goal scorer to score goals. So if you want to be aligned with one Didier Drogba, you better do it when it matters.
And then Nick, you went with a more David Luiz-esque type of choice here in your mid-risk type of one.
Yeah, I think big games defense is the watchword historically for Chelsea, that you put in a big defensive performance, and Marc Cucurella would be my mid-risk selection.
I think I use the same type of philosophy for putting Moises Caicedo in for mine, because I think that he has shown up in some big moments here, and like if he's doing that and controlling a game, and everybody else can kind of get stuff going on because he's absolutely just dominating in a game, I think that we're going to win some really good stuff this season. And then it comes down to our on the ledge ones. So our last part of our 25-26 season preview predictions here. Brandon Busby, who is your on the ledge prediction for who that big game hero is going to be this season?
I threw in Enzo just last second there. Again, I just think the leadership role within the team, I think sometimes he can actually lift the group around him, even if he's not personally doing it. But look, I've loved the work rate. I love the leadership I'm seeing from him. So again, I think that if we are like round of 16 backs against the rope, I do see Enzo verbally like driving the team forward in that situation. And so I think that he could have a role like that.
And then Nick, you went with Joao Pedro as yours, who is Brandon's mid risk. It's kind of similar to what his thought was or view was.
Correct. Yep.
And look, I'm going to offer one here. It's the 117th minute in the Champions League final. Chelsea are up 2-1.
Unbelievable, this guy.
The attack is coming down. The defense is a little caught out. And Robert Bob Sanchez shows up, makes the save, winds down time, and Chelsea end up winning the Champions League because of Bob Sanchez in the final minutes of extra time.
Wow. They say that romance is dead in football. Dan just really...
It's not going to be when Bob Sanchez gets a massive extension on the back of that. Look, those are some really fun 25, 26 season preview predictions. They're not all going to be right. Most of them are going to be wrong. It's just a little bit of opportunity for us to get excited with you all about what's coming up for this Chelsea season here, which should be full of positivity. Hope it is a massive chaos and trophies season, because when both of those things hit, it feels really, really good to be a Chelsea fan. So any final thoughts, Brandon, before we get out of here?
Look, that I will say I was like pretty short of optimism for most of last season, right? At the end of the day, the squad got it across the line, won a trophy, and carried that momentum into the Club World Cup. We continue to change over the squad. We've got a lot of more young players to see what they'll be able to do. But I will say, I think without maybe like the most elite goalkeeper in the world on the squad, I think we are significantly better than last season. I really do. I think some of the fringe players have been allowed to leave that might have been felt like a hard decision, but at the end of the day, probably the right decision. So I'm excited to see what the team does this season. I am impressed with what I've seen so far, which is fun.
And Nick, what's your final thought or feeling heading into this season?
It's going to be a weird one. Obviously, Chelsea are coming off a very short break. Season starts in 2 weeks. So we are, we're into it now. Preseason is going to be 2 matches. So we will, of course, have a preseason preview after our season preview, which is a little odd. But then we're right into it. And then remember, 3 international breaks in the fall: September, October, November. So you're not only throwing in a big boy competition like Champions League, have a bunch of other stuff going on, but you're also going to have these international breaks where your Moises Caicedos, your Enzo Fernandez are traveling long distances every single month for the first 3 months of the season. It's going to be a weird start to the year. So my hope is that the strength and depth really does show up in those moments to kind of accommodate for what is going to be a crazy footballing calendar with just a casual World Cup at the end of it, just as you'd hope for. So, just be ready for anything to happen. I do think the top 4 have strengthened to a point to kind of avoid some of the worst ramifications of that, but it is going to be a weird season.
Well, and I think it's going to be a season where Chelsea get to walk into it, the first of 4 seasons where Chelsea can say they are the best team in the world. Whether or not that is factually true at that point in time, you get the opportunity to claim it because of the badge on the front of the shirt and the trophy you have in your cabinet. So enjoy that one. Enjoy clowning on every other team as we get ready to go into every match this season. And enjoy the ride, because hopefully a little bit of chaos, there should be a lot of trophies here. But that's going to do it for this episode. So thank you so much for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Hit that button on YouTube. Just do that for us, because we put a lot of work there. It's like 9 shorts a day. It's really wonderful. It makes it super easy for you. You also can comment on the videos as well too. Don't forget to give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify. It's always appreciated. Don't forget to sign up for our free weekly newsletter, Loans Blue Dispatch, and then get involved in our Discord community for your pay capacity. But that's going to do it for this episode. So until next time, Chelsea fans, you know what to do. Keep the blue flag flying high.